So if you've been paying attention, there's a chance that you might have noticed that I haven't really been uploading as much this league, and yeah, there's a reason for that. The reason being that Path of Exile is kind of in a weird place this league. It's kind of felt like the so-called content meta has turned into this drama, you know, streamers doing like notepad streams and paint streams and things like that, and talking more about the overall like content meta of the game and talking about more of that than actually playing the game. And while that's all fine and good, I typically, at least for YouTube, don't really delve too much into that. Well, that's not too much the case actually, because as you've seen, possibly this league, I've been using the right that was handed down to me from Christ Wilson himself to complain about the game constantly. Pretty much all that I've been doing on YouTube this league. However, that can only go on for so long. Eventually it starts to get boring and you gotta actually start making real videos again. However, it kind of has felt like the people that I personally make videos for aren't really playing as much PoE nowadays. Now, if you insulate yourself to the most diehard of Path of Exile communities, where fruitful members of civilization cast off the shackles of society and go out to live their hermitage in the forest, you know, dedicating themselves to surviving while being solo only off of things that they've found, if that sounds like you might not realize that anything is wrong with Path of Exile whatsoever. However, for those of us still participating in society, Rayclast is on fire, and civilization is burning to the ground. Now, I haven't seen the economy be in such a like advanced stage of decay this early into a league in a very, very long time. Now, there could be many different reasons for this. It could just be that it's the summer league and people are finally, you know, venturing out after having lived in the shadows for a year, and they're wanting to fill up those beaches and subsequently the hospital beds as well if you live in the United States, but people don't have time for PoE. It's time to get outside and return to the real world. Or maybe it's just that the last few patches the game hasn't really been getting any more fun, hasn't really had very much more content added to it. And yeah, it just kind of feels like nothing of substance has been added. Now, I've talked about this at length in a lot of my previous videos and over at my stream at twitch.tv/bigducks, which you should go follow, by the way. However, we need to talk about action. I want to talk about what I'm going to be doing going forward for this league and for the future of the channel. As in my previous video, I kind of talked a little bit about how, yeah, it's kind of up in the air. I know I want to keep making content, but I'm not sure what I want to do. And I finally decided, so let's get into it. Now, I had lofty goals for 3.15, but most of those were put into question around teaser day, and my suspicions were unfortunately confirmed with the announcement. Now, while I don't think any of this marks the death of PoE, as some might say, it definitely was very surprising to find myself staring at the announcement, watching in abject horror, wondering if I was even going to be able to continue creating new player content, or if new players were simply just going to leave the game and there wasn't anybody for me to make videos for anymore. Now, supposedly, according to GGG, the message that was delivered by this announcement to the community wasn't exactly what they intended, and that the vast majority of the nerfs to player power are all done with, and that there were no more sweeping nerfs to speak of. Now, whether or not you believe this is up to you, but what I've realized after seeing the 2 times that Chris has talked to the community this league, he's going to be talking to them again, which I'm really excited for the next one. Make sure that you catch me over on stream when we're watching it. But what I've realized is that they were absolutely leaving myself and most of the community in the dark on everything. And unfortunately, what happens when people are upset and rowdy and they don't have anything to do, and you don't communicate clearly with them, that's when the demons in the shadow grow larger and become more twisted. You know, things start to escalate. At first, it was just a bad patch or two, you know, people or whatever, but after a little bit, people start to think, and as you know, thinking is the worst possible thing that you can do. They start to wonder if GGG is incompetent and can't release good content anymore. People start to say that they just landed in a good ecosystem by chance and it's all just random. And then it gets even worse. People start to think that GGG is doing all of this on purpose, like they have some malicious grand scheme to push the game in a certain direction for some nefarious goals. Like, I read somewhere, I don't remember exactly where this was, but someone was saying that GGG is trying to kill the value of their game so that they can buy back their stock from Tencent before PoE 2 releases. And while I applaud you for your creativity, I don't really think you know just about anything related to how the stock market works, and it's kind of starting to sound like an Alex Jones talk point instead of objective criticism. And I'd kind of like to stay on the objective criticism side, if we could. What I see is that GGG is once again starting to do the thing that I have praised them for many, many years. This is something that we've been missing recently. This is something that I think was one of the cornerstones of what made GGG one of my favorite game creation devs of all time. And that is that they are beginning to communicate with us again. They're trying to reach out, trying to explain what this so-called vision is a little bit more clearly. And personally, a lot of the stuff that I was extremely worried about, just personally me, not really as like a community kind of thing, seems a little bit less worrisome after they went into detail about some of it. Now, this isn't to say that I'm super positive looking forward. I'm just kind of leaning back towards being neutral instead of massively on the side of negativity. So now, if you're wondering what this means for my content, what are my plans for the future, what I'm going to do during a patch where none of the people I normally make content for are actually playing the game, well, I kind of feel like I have two choices. I can just ride off into the sunset and watch how PoE does from the sidelines. I actually kind of enjoy being just an observer and watching how things play out. But while I might still end up doing that one day in the future, for now, I will be taking the second choice. And I will be doing my best to continue to make content. Now, first and foremost, my main goal is to get people excited to play PoE and to try to share this game that I love with as many new people as I can. Unfortunately, I can't really do that this league, so I kind of need to, get all of the house cleaning done that I've been putting off for literally months now. So the first step of that is I need to work on a lot of the builds that are in my backlog. Now, these builds have slowly fallen to the wayside and are in massive need of updating. I want to go through pretty much all of my old builds and get them back up to par, or maybe decide if the nerfs that have happened recently have deemed them ready to be put out to pasture. Along with that, I'm going to be working on getting updated build guides for pretty much all of the builds that survive and modernizing those POBs for each, so look forward to seeing some old names come up sometime soon. And remember, we are going to be doing all of this over on Twitch, so make sure that you come hang out with your boy. Now, beyond that, I am going to start doing something a little bit different to what my normal PoE content is, and that is I'm going to make significantly more videos that are about specific, simple topics. Like how to build defenses and stop dying. You can look for that video sometime relatively soon. Things like how to actually trade on the website, like how to put in bulk orders and how to sell bulk of items like essences and fossils and things like that from your stash tabs, how to do a lot of the things that people ask me questions about all the time. And the reason for this is that many of the more experienced players may not even realize how much more difficult it is for some newer or inexperienced players this league, and just in general now, and I want to help get them over that insanely steep difficulty curve that is called playing PoE. In the past, I took more of a guiding hand approach, but I feel as PoE gets more ruthless, that approach won't work as well going forward. So, with all of that said, the thing you're probably interested in is that I currently plan on giving PoE until around patch 3.17. This should be when the new Atlas update comes in, and if they can impress me and make me feel like it's headed back in the correct direction, or at least not down, right? I'd take the game just being at a neutral at this point going forward. If it doesn't pull back by then, well, that ride off into the sunset will be looking a hell of a lot more appealing. So in the meantime, until we can figure out where the direction of the game is going, make sure to stay safe out there in Raid Class. And I'll see you all in the next video.